Rossy Ogawa, the founder and former booker for Stardom, the biggest Joshi promotion in Japan and probably the biggest women's promotion anywhere in the world, was fired from Stardom in February after being accused of trying to poach talent on his way out. He was planning to leave anyway. He was not happy about not having full power and having some of his decisions overruled. Again, it was his company at one time, but it had been sold to Bushiroad a number of years ago. They kept him on. But I guess he wasn't happy with some of the decisions that were being made, so the plan was for him to exit gracefully, but then they fired him instead. Now, he denied the poaching allegations and said that he would be starting a new promotion, and this week, that promotion was officially launched. It is called Dream Star Fighting Marigold, or Marigold for short. They held a press conference on Monday to make the announcement, and they also have a working agreement in place with WWE. WWE flew Ogawa and Julia, one of the biggest names to come out of Stardom, to Philadelphia for WrestleMania weekend. They were both shown on camera with William Regal in the crowd at NXT Stand and Deliver, and Julia was backstage at WrestleMania as well. She left Stardom for two reasons, because she's on her way to WWE, but also to help Rossy start his new promotion. Julia is the biggest name on the roster. The expectation is that she will be working for both companies for a little while before eventually moving to the US. And at that point, she will be full-time with probably NXT to start. Corey Brennan for Fightful Select is reporting that the belief within NXT is that Julia will have her debut match at the NXT Heatwave show on July 7th, and that she is expected to be challenging for one of the NXT women's titles on that show. NXT is introducing a new Women's North American Championship, so it would be that or the main NXT Women's title. So she'll work for both for a while, and then after a few months, she'll be exclusive to WWE. She might make an appearance here and there for Marigold, should they want her. Now, Ogawa was in Philadelphia also trying to work out a deal to get Io Sky and Kairi Sane to come to Marigold for a major show this summer. Marigold's first show will be held May 20th at Korakuen Hall, which sold out instantly, with Julia and a mystery partner taking on Saray and a mystery partner. And just as word of this working agreement with WWE and Marigold started making the rounds this week, and they had their big press conference on Monday, Kenny Omega went and dropped a nuclear bomb on things with comments that he made during one of his Twitch streams. Because he's still convalescing from his bout with diverticulitis. He's probably still going to have surgery, intestinal surgery very soon. So who knows when he's going to be back. So in his time off, he has set up a room, I guess, in his home or his apartment, whatever, where he's gaming and he's streaming on Twitch and people can ask questions. And so these Twitch streams have made quite the headlines in recent weeks. First for his comments about CM Punk and Brawl Out, and now for his comments about Rossy Ogawa. He was asked about Ogawa, and his comments raised a lot of eyebrows. He said, "I would say don't be so quick to listen to praise for that individual, because someday, I'm not sure when it will be, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, people will know the truth. What they do with that truth, I don't know. Will they share it? Maybe. A lot of the higher-ups in Japan, they know exactly what business he's up to, and what he's been up to for decades. That's all I gotta say." And that was, in fact, not all that he had to say. When he was asked about Rossy being an E-drone, since Marigold has a partnership with WWE, Omega said that he didn't care about that, as it's not even the tip of the iceberg. He said there are a lot of people that refuse to work for him for the very same reason who are currently in WWE and in AEW. He said, if you want to know along what lines they tread amongst, the dude just flat out said, hey, we're looking for girls ages 13 to 21 that don't have a boyfriend and aren't married. We already know he puts underage girls in very revealing swimsuit calendars and books. I wish that's all he did. Let's put it that way. I don't have any sort of video evidence. I just have the good word of people that are very close. I'm outside of it. If those people feel like commenting or saying something, whatever. For now, I'll just say that people going to Marigold, good luck. I hope you have a great time. I hope it works out for you. For me, I would be very hesitant. That's it. And then he said, redact my comments and He said, I didn't say anything, before again questioning the desired age range for Marigold's talent or trainees. And then he agreed with one commenter who said that he should delete the video. He said he was not going on record with anything because he didn't want any lawyers barking at his door. I think it may be too late for that. And he finished by saying that he supports Asuka and that she's got her reasons, probably the same one as mine. Now, if you remember, Asuka went on a diatribe on social media last summer. I covered it on the podcast. She was shooting on Stardom and how the promotion was created just to destroy her personally, although she never mentioned Rossy Ogawa by name. There's a reason why they are working on a deal to bring Io and Kairi into Marigold and not Asuka. But, wow. There's a lot to digest here. First of all, I hate when people say something without actually saying it. But in this case, I understand Kenny not wanting to get himself into any kind of legal trouble. It's kind of like his way of warning people and stepping right up to the line without going over it. For Kenny Omega, of all people, that's the other thing that struck me about these comments. Kenny Omega, he's always complimentary of everyone, and he's a very laid-back guy. I don't know if I've ever seen him get angry before, even on TV, let alone in like an interview or anything. Even CM Punk last week in the aftermath of all the stuff that went down there, right? He was pretty complimentary of Punk. Even Jim Cornette, who hates this man's guts. I don't think I have ever heard Kenny Omega say anything or insinuate anything as bad about Cornette as what he did here about Rossy Ogawa in that video. And again, think of all the horrible shit that Cornette has said about this man. If Kenny Omega was burning on the side of the road, Cornette would not piss on him to put it out. And I still have never heard Kenny Omega say anything or insinuate anything as awful about him as he did here in this video. But he didn't mince any words. He said basically this man is a creep and there's some really fucked up things going on that he has heard about. And that's the key. He stressed that he has not personally witnessed any of this himself. He has not experienced any of this himself. It's only things that he has heard secondhand from people that have worked there or have been around Rossy and know him well. And Kenny Omega is pretty plugged into the Joshi scene. People make fun of him for it. He brought Riho into AEW, and he's somebody who's pretty plugged into that scene and has tried to recruit people to come over and bring them to AEW from the Joshi scene. It's very telling to me that it's Kenny saying this and being so blunt. And it might give WWE pause before they decide to enter into a working relationship with this man. Being that their own company still has a sex trafficking lawsuit pending against it. I'm starting to understand all of those happy tweets from Tony Khan after Rossy got fired. But what Kenny is referring to about Marigold looking for younger, unmarried women, the promotion said they're looking for new wrestlers to train. And they want them to be between the ages, I think it was 13 and 30. He said 13 and 21. I think it's 13 and 30, but they want them unmarried. Now, John Pollock had an interview with Karen Peterson, who works for the website Post Wrestling. I wanted to give her a shout out here because I thought it was a good interview, and then I noticed that she blocked me on Twitter. I've never interacted with this woman once in my entire life, but evidently I got all up in her feelings. But she was talking about how it's more of a cultural thing in Japan, where these promotions, and not just Stardom, they have Ice Ribbon. I mean, there's more than one Joshi promotion. But they want girls that are younger, who can make the commitment to train. So they go to school, they train, they wrestle. Or they work part-time and they train and they wrestle. And that's it. That's their lives. But also she pointed out that the fan base for these Joshi promotions is predominantly male. Men in their 30s. Now, that doesn't make it any less creepy when we're talking about underage girls. In fact, that makes it worse. They do these photo shoots of these girls, some of them underage in like bathing suits and stuff. It's like a Victoria's Secret catalog. But Japan also, just last year, they lowered their age of adulthood from 20 to 18. It's the first time in 140 years they changed the legal definition of an adult in Japan. When Rossy sold Stardom to Bushiroad in 2019, Bushiroad changed things where they didn't want anybody under the age of 18. Apparently, Rossy wants to keep things old school. And when you hear the Kenny Omega comments, you read between the lines, and it just makes it that much creepier.